You are now listening to Talk Your Jits podcast.
Welcome back to Talk Your Jits podcast. This podcast is, as the name implies, all about jiu-jitsu. I'm your host, Lamar Smith, and today's guest is a brown belt who trains at PSA BJJ Brooklyn, located in Brooklyn, New York. Ladies and gentlemen, Danny Patrick. What's up?
Not much, man. I see it like a really dope backdrop. Power Rangers, belts, everything else like that. It's really cool setup.
Yeah, this is my little man cave, man.
It's really cool, man.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like I have like some collectibles and a Christmas tree up. I kind of feel like dumb now, just going with the white door.
Hey, man, it's all good, man. It's all good.
I mean, I never thought of like the backdrop like that. I did Ricky's BJJ Ricky's podcast, and he has a huge display cabinet of Marvel Legends.
Nice.
You know Marvel Legends?
Oh yeah, I got some. It's on the. It's like a little bit for
cabinet, an Avengers cabinet, everything like evil villains cabinet, and I'm just like, damn, man, like with the white door. So that's 2 times happened.
So don't make it a third.
I mean, it's bound to happen. I do these like interview things, like job interviews and different tests and stuff for work where you have like you have someone watch you take the test online so you don't do anything shady. And they kind of require like a plain white door, blue drapes type of deal. So I kind of like got used to it. Plus, like in a job interview, like if you have like too crazy of a background, it's sort of like now they're like distracted looking at like this guy who's interviewing who's like, is that the White Ranger? Like, which generation White Ranger is that? Is that first generation Tommy? Or is that later on Speed Force?
Right. I get you. But yeah, man, first off, I appreciate you coming on the show, man. Greatly appreciate you reaching out.
It's not a problem, man. Anyway, like the way I see it, being a bit of a meme page is sort of like there's a community aspect. Like I know most of the other meme pages on Instagram. I'm friends with several of them. I mean, I've had a couple of them over my house, met them, different things like that. And there's like a community thing. If there's any way I could help you push your podcast, I'm all for it. If there's any way I could help some newer meme page, like trying to understand the whole algorithm and how to go from 1K followers to 15K, then I'm all for it, man. It's like something like what's all win, man.
Right. Yeah, I'm with that, man. Definitely.
Let's all get some of this like jiu-jitsu. I mean, for lack of a better term, I'm gonna call it extracurricular money. Because it's not exactly directly jiu-jitsu money, do you know what I mean? Like as if you're a coach or a competitor. But podcasts, memes, stuff like that, I guess would be kind of sort of like extracurricular, if you know what I mean. But yeah, why not everyone win? I mean, in a competition, it's a different story. I'm gonna win. I don't want anyone else to win.
Right, but in this type of setting, let's all
outside of like an actual competition, yeah. Let's all win. In a competition, I'm first. I don't even want to accept the second or third medal.
All right, man. Let's get the ball rolling, man. If you want to introduce yourself again, by all means, and let's hear about your jiu-jitsu journey.
Danny Patrick. I'm a brown belt out of Barksdale Academy of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in Brooklyn. At like I don't know how long I've been training, to be honest with you. When I moved, I did find a schedule from 2014.
Okay.
So I'm gonna say like 8, 9, 10, some odd years. There were some gaps with injuries and different things like that. I'm an insurance adjuster, so I could just jump up and spend the next like month or two in Florida, and not be training at my school, things like that. I'm Meme Page, Danny Patrick, BJJ. I mostly make memes about shitty lives and different things like that. But I like the idea of like just making other people laugh or like sort of relate to a certain joke. Like, I mean, how many like we could all laugh about how many dudes are still around since when we started. Things like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's about it, man. I'm deaf, actually. I don't know if
Really?
you know. Yeah, you probably haven't noticed it because I'm reading captions, but I'm actually deaf, like hard of hearing deaf. Um,
Okay.
I'm reading captions. It's coming up fine. But I kind of always think this funny thing, like, look.
Oh wow. No, I wouldn't. I would not have known.
It's. I always think it's kind of hilarious. Like, you just tap like an old man, and you just be like, "Hey, man, I bet your hearing's better than mine." He's like, "What are you talking about? I have awful hearing." I'm like, "Look, mine's worse."
He said, "I have none at all."
What about you, Lamar? Where you from?
I'm from Detroit, Michigan.
Detroit. All right.
Yep. Born and raised.
Do you know which school were you in Detroit?
When I started jujitsu, I was at a school called H2O Martial Arts.
Do you know Judo Dan by any chance?
No, I don't. Nah, I don't think so.
He's a Detroit transplant. I'm trained at my school. Hopped around to like 6, 7 other schools. Finally got his black belt. From what I heard, is he was a brown belt since '96.
Wow.
Wild, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. He's absolutely deserving of a black belt type of guy, but sort of enigma surrounded him where he sort of jumped around New York, Detroit. I think he's upstate New York now. But sort of the type of guy like, yeah, this guy deserves a black belt 100%. But then you hear some wild story. He's been a black belt. He's been a brown belt since '96. My sister was born in '96, in '95. And I think she's in her 30s now.
That's like 30 years being a brown belt.
I think it was sort of like a nomad thing. Like he was at our school for like 6 months. Then he was at another school. Then he finally settled down upstate and actually been training there for around a year or so. You know what I mean? Like, you get these guys who deserve black belts, but they're not consistent at a single school. So it's like promoting them to black belt, like I barely even know you. You know what I
Right.
mean? So I guess it's like kind of like that scenario. I don't think he really cared. And he did get his black belt eventually, so that's what it is.
Yeah, I think being in a martial art for so long, you kind of don't care about the belts no more. It's more so the journey and experience that you really look forward to than your belt changing colors.
I agree to an extent, and I'll pose this as sort of like a discussion question for the both of us.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of felt that way until I got a brown belt. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And the brown belt was like, holy crap, I'm this close to black belt. You know what I mean? Because like getting a blue belt you're a black belt. Blue belt doesn't really mean that much.
Mm-hmm.
And so on. But I kind of felt that way. And I don't think, like, you got a black belt. Was that not a big deal to you?
Oh, very much. Very well. Once I got it, it was very much a big deal to me.
So it's like sort of like, yeah, the belts don't mean as much until you get into like a competition and it kind of divides people out. Fair. But also, like, it's kind of nice when you get a drop in and you're kind of gauging them if they have the belt. You know, you don't gotta like play the whole like patty cake like with a white belt or so on. But that aside, yeah, I mean they are whatever, like, but I know for a fact when I achieve black belt, it's gonna be absolutely be meaning to the point where I'm gonna toss the idea of belts don't matter out the window because that's a huge achievement. On the other side of the coin, to me, it's sort of like whatever keeps you showing up. If it's a belt, if it's a prospect out of promotion, whatever like that. You see these guys on the internet like willing to do whatever they can for some cheat code to make them a blue belt. Like if that's what keeps them showing up to class, then I mean, like, who am I to say belts don't matter, right?
Right.
But at the same time, like you're in class, like the guy that kind of like fits your style competitively, regardless of his rank, is kind of like that's who you want to be rolling with regularly. I mean, my kryptonite is a guy who just got his purple belt. He was a blue belt for the longest time, and he's just so freaking stiff, and just like natural wrestler and just stiff. You can't really do much with him just because even just pulling his arm off of his side is a grand task. He's kind of like someone who belts really didn't matter to. But that's the guy who I'm going to spend every chance I get rolling with. Because he's going to make me better, stuff like that. I'll finally figure out how to deal with this super stiff guy.
So how long have you been training at PSA?
That's my only school.
Okay, so okay.
That's the only home school I've had. I'm a bit of a slut though. I will train anywhere. I've dropped in like 80 some odd schools. I'll drop in another 80 schools when I have a chance. With insurance adjusting, I kind of like follow disaster. It's kind of dark. So last time I was in Florida was because it was a hurricane in Florida. You know what I mean? I was offered Hawaii for the fires, but I wasn't actually registered in Hawaii, so I didn't take it. On top of that, it would have probably been like 4 or 5 months in Hawaii just adjusting places. Wow. I was offered Michigan. I'm not registered in Michigan either. They have crazy hailstorms. But yeah, I was in California. I went and tried dropping in on Kurt Osander's gym. I was in Pittsburgh. I think it was Stout I tried dropping in on. Florida, City of Palms, Chicago. I highly recommend 10P Lombard Sunday Open Mat. Huge facility. And probably close to like 150 people open mat.
Whoo, man.
I mean, I might be exaggerating the number a little bit, but we're talking like it was like an auditorium sized mat. And you had wrestlers, we had a guy in a football jersey.
Hey, gotta get it, man. Gotta get
Judo
it.
guys, 10P guys, Sambo guys, everything. It was like the most diverse open mat I've ever been to. It was a great time. Just like 2-3 hours. I don't even think they had me sign a waiver, which I thought was the weird part.
I don't think I've ever signed a waiver at a open mat either.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that's kind of standard. Just like sign a waiver. No really questions after that. Like, yo, sign a waiver. There's where the locker room is. There's where the bathroom is. It's kind of like easy going, but yeah, my school's really kind of stiff on waivers, which is fair. Other schools
Yeah.
I've dropped in. I think the weird one, school in Jersey, I signed a waiver, but then like for the mat fee was just like a tin box. And I think mat fee was like $30, which I felt was high.
What? That's
So I
tuition.
just stuck a 10 in there. Like, who's paying attention to this? Like $30 is high. I think Marcelo's is cheaper than $30. I know B team's 50 drop in.
50?
Yeah. I feel like I should get at least 3 hours and some seminar out of 50.
Yeah. I want to, yes.
I like you guys have donation seminars over there?
Yeah, so we have like a $10 drop-in fee.
That's
It's not
fine,
that
man.
big of a deal.
I mean,
Yeah.
bigger cities, I understand that it's going to be like 20.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, you're talking about like Marcelo's. If Marcelo's like running the class, like, yeah, I'll pay 20.
Yeah, of course, of course.
But yeah, I've been to a few places, one like 30, 40. Then go to like another place like Unity. If you want this like super specific, like hands-on training class, I think it's 20. But every other class, they don't even charge you.
Okay. Now, with you being an insurance adjuster, you travel a lot. So when you find out where you're going, do you look up what schools are there first before you find hotels to stay at?
I look them up when I get there.
Okay.
Because take Florida, for example. I was in Florida for 2.5 weeks. I believe I worked 230 hours, including traveling, which was 2 to 4 hours of driving a day in the flight. So it's a little bit less of like actual work time. I don't always have spare time to train, but I have family and friends in Fort Myers area. So I hit up two friends. Yeah, I got buddies over at City of Palms. They have take the class. You'll train with like 3 UFC fighters. All right, that sounds dope. I'll throw no gear stuff in my bag. Go like that. Chicago. I think I asked Reddit for Chicago and they came up with 10 feet Lombard. I had Sunday off, so I went Sunday to the open mat and then went and visited my cousin a little bit further out. I just kind of do it like that. It's easier to like travel no gi than gi, obviously. So I'll either look up schools close to my hotel because I might be working till 6 with a 7 o'clock class. I get back to my hotel, take a quick shower, and I get to a school that's like 5-10 minutes away at time. Otherwise, other days, like I had a 24-hour day or a 26-hour day in California because I drove 8 hours both ways on Sonora Pass. Just like driving up a mountain and then coming down a mountain. And then I got stuck in a snowstorm. So a day like that, I don't have a chance to go train jiu-jitsu, but it's sort of like you drop in a school, there's like 5 minutes of awkwardness, and then you move on. You know what I mean? I think what the one time I had I got confused was Unity. They have a lot of like hand gestures and stuff like that if you don't know them, you're kind of like, I don't know what this guy just said to me with his hand gestures. And being deaf, I'm thinking literally. Like you say Sonic, man. But then I'm like looking around like this whole fucking class knows sign language. What's going on? And I'm like, yeah. So there's like that. It was like a little bit of confusion. Then it kind of like the Italian guy who didn't even spoke English was kind of explaining to me. But that's kind of the cool thing about being in NYC.
Mm-hmm.
Is there's so many schools here. You could drop in on. I took classes with John Caldestein. I took seminars with John Caldestein, Jason Rao, Nicky Ronan. What else? I've been all over the place training here. I think I've been to Marcel's. I think I've been to like 3-4 RGAs. I trained jiu-jitsu at a Muay Thai school once, just because they ran it in the rink. I took classes with Tex Johnson. I got kicked out of 2 UFC gyms.
How?
Different things like that. Oh, I trained with both the Mile brothers, like nicest guys, but they walk on the mats like their posture is the cockiest thing ever. Like just their posture is so messed up from years of jiu-jitsu. They're kind of like, and they look like, who's the fucking guy is cocky as hell walking around like this? Like he's got a fucking 16-inch cock going around here. Yeah, dude, just like that's just how their body's like manipulated to the constant like jiu-jitsu trauma. They're the nicest guys. They'll show you anything. Rule Santana, Junior Costco. It's like there's so many pros here. You could just drop in a school and you're training with a pro or training with. I mean, Donaher's not here anymore, but you could have dropped in his school, train with him, train with Renzo, train with Marcelo. It's kind of a cool thing like that. Train with my coaches. I've done that. That was cool.
Nice. So how did you get kicked out the UFC schools?
I mean, I'll call out the exact school. I don't think it's there anymore. J Street in downtown. At the time, I think it was like Blue Bell at the time, but I kind of liked that I could take the jiu-jitsu class. If I had like 2-3 hours of free time, I would take the jiu-jitsu class and then go hit the weights. It's kind of like the nice thing about UFC gyms. But J Street, this instructor, I don't think he had any jiu-jitsu experience or like the vaguest amount. And he's showing how to finish an armbar. But this isn't like, you know how you take a seminar? Like, who's a cool seminar you took?
You said what?
Who's like a cool seminar you took? You ever taken a Cow Tower seminar?
No, I haven't took one. I took a
just give me someone random you took in a seminar with.
Chris Hodder. I had a Chris Hodder seminar.
I'm kind of jealous of that. I'm a big fan of that. So you know how he'll show you a tiny little adjustment of how he does an armbar? And you'll just like, wow, I can't believe I never even thought of that.
Right.
Those are like the gyms I absolutely love. Like, look, me and you both know how to do arm bars, but show me your specific, like, different things, and I can take a little piece of that, do it my way. You know what I mean? That's kind of like where we're learning off each other. This wasn't at all that. This was literally us just laying on the ground with each other's arms in between each other's legs. And he wasn't even showing the thigh squeeze to keep the pivot. He was just showing this basic, like if you got in some scenario where this scramble happened and you ended up with someone's arm in between your legs, and he's just showing that. And I'm like, I can't believe you guys are charging money for this.
Right.
And he says, what? The coach says, what? And it's like, I can't believe you're taking people's money and this is what you're showing. Like, it just doesn't feel fair to them. They like this is a classes of, I'm assuming, hobbyist white belts, and for them to like for someone to charge who has close to no BJJ experience, he's probably like a great boxer or Muay Thai coach, but he's teaching BJJ classes, and this is what you're teaching. He's not like anything specific, but just an armbar, how to finish an armbar. And he's like, what do you mean by that? I was like, I mean, like, I don't feel like it's fair to these people taking this class that you actually not even coaching. You're just showing like the most Vegas thing, kind of like, I don't like your tone. I mean, I'm just being honest with you, or I'm like blue belt. Like, I'm assuming for you to be coaching a BJJ class, you've taken like a few BJJ classes, and you could show me a little something. This, we're arguing, and I got kicked out. The funny part, though, about how I got kicked out is they actually refunded me $35. And it was actually making a free class. So I actually made $35 getting kicked out of this.
They paid you to leave.
The other one, I disagreed with a manager. I worked across the street from it, and she said something really obtuse, and I had to disagree with her while inside the school, and she basically like asked me to leave. Like I've heard, like I know, I'm a big fan of Mark Schultz, the wrestler. I know he teaches at a UFC school. I've taken took a great class with Tex Johnson at a UFC school. I've taken other classes at UFC gyms. There are some great coaches there, so I'm not completely demeaning UFC gyms, but some of them, like we're talking about, like guys with like 5-6 months training, teaching classes, right? That's cool. I mean, sure, I'm willing to learn something from a white belt or hear them out. But I don't think you should be sort of like lying about what you are in jiu-jitsu.
Right.
There's this kid posted something recently on Facebook. This guy he trains with like disappears for 4 months, comes back with a different rank.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird because his belt looks like 4 fresh white stripes on it. Like we got him yesterday. Cool. I mean, I don't care that as long as you're not hurting anyone in the school or like lying about your rank for the sake of like money, coaching people with a lying rank, then what does it matter, man? You can wear a plaid belt in. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, I don't know why they think that, you changing your belt color is supposed to give you some type of superpowers. It's going to show once you roll.
It's like, you remember Jose Quinwas or Jay Quinwas?
Yeah, I heard the names before.
Jiu-Jitsu Cops. The guy who like got a black belt from a strip club manager. And just like doesn't show up to work for 2 weeks. He's like, oh, I was in Brazil. And he comes back, he's a black belt. I mean, fine. All right. Literally, it's like for that type of person, it's a Halloween costume. Who cares? All right. I'm sure you know or you've seen people who have a rank that you don't think deserves it. All right. We all kind of like feel that way. We just don't say anything because it's like not our business. You run a school. All right, so you have a school. What would you do if one of your students, say a blue belt, spent a month in Brazil, comes back and is a purple belt?
I would question it. I would definitely question it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because he is still wearing your name on his gi, right?
Right.
Now, do you think there's a difference? Are you stricter on rank with dudes you drop in other gyms, dudes you compete, versus, like, for lack of a better term, let's say an in-house promotion?
If it's someone outside of my school, I can care less because I don't know their lineage. I don't know how they run stuff. But yeah, if it's someone in house and they leave for a month and come back another rank, I was like, nah, that don't work that way with me.
That's fair. So I'm saying, like, say an in-house promotion, if you have a dude who's, let's say, 60, 70, and he's in class all the time,
Mm-hmm.
all right, he's not going to be dropping in or competing anywhere. But
Right.
you promote him to a higher rank because he's putting in the work and stuff like that. Even though physically at that age, he's maybe not as competitive against the younger guys with lower ranks.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair. It's sort of like he's training only here.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone here sees him and respects all the work he puts in. And
Mm-hmm.
we're looking at him like, yo, that dude absolutely deserves that. And it doesn't become an issue where he drops in another school, trains with other guys at that rank, and they run through him.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what I mean, like in-house promotion. But they're also like kind of like, it's like kind of like a gray area where we're talking about older guys, where whatever like that, older people training or stuff like that. It becomes like a non-issue because it's not like he's gonna go compete and get his ass kicked. He's like he accidentally signed up for adult instead of Master 7. Some fucking 19-year-old kid just runs through him.
Right. Right. That's wild.
Let me ask you this: what's the weirdest? I'll give you my funny situation after yours, but what's the weirdest sort of like awkward interaction you've had at jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, we had a guy who he trained off and on at other schools or whatever, and he came to visit our school, and he basically self-promoted himself to purple belt. And my instructor was asking him like, "Oh, who gave you your who gave you your blue belt, who gave you your purple belt?" And he was like, "Oh yeah, they don't train, they're not from here." So he's like, "Okay, that's fine. Who gave it to you?" And he still would not give him the answer. He just kept saying, "Oh, y'all know he don't train in Michigan anymore." And then he brought someone in. He brought someone in that he gave a blue belt to. And once again, my instructor was just trying to ask, like, who'd you get your blue belt from? And he's like, "Oh, I got it from yeah, you might not know him." So it was like, get out. It's like, type deal.
You ever think to like run a Shark Tank on him, like with your purple belts? That would be funny.
So bad, so badly. Oh, we wanted to so badly.
Like if you
so badly.
like, all right, you get a purple belt, just line up like 6, 7 of your purple belts and just Shark Tank him. throw in some tough blue belts in the Shark Tank too.
Oh yeah,
like
around that time we had some heavy blue belts.
Kid who's an absolute stud for his age. You know those like 16, 17-year-old kids who were absolute studs?
Mm-hmm.
Like throw them against that guy.
I know, right? Such a problem.
Those kids are the best.
Yeah.
All right, so being deaf, this was like a while back. I worked with this guy, Ian. About the same size as me, about the same skill set as me, rank, whatever like that. We just kind of paired perfectly. We joked everything else like after class, but when we're doing the instructional part of class, he would sort of like yell at me, being I'm deaf, like move your hand here and everything else like that. I didn't mind it. The coach just didn't mind it. I mean, they know I'm deaf. But this newer woman, you can see her just like turning redder and redder right next to us as Ian's yelling at me. And she turns to Ian and she's like, you don't have to yell at him like that. And I replied back to her, was like, I'm sorry, I don't actually have my hearing aid in right now. Can you talk louder? And she just turned so red. She was so embarrassed. It's Ian's favorite story. Training at jiu-jitsu. There was like another one. I hit someone with snow. I didn't hear she was behind me, but she was like yelling at me from behind, and I threw snow over my shoulder, right in her face.
Oh no.
I'm from the suburbs. Like, I have a redneck father from Alabama. Like, getting thrown snow in someone's face is not something weird. I have a cousin.
Right.
I was at a family reunion years back when I was like, I don't know, I think we're like 10, 12. Me, my brother, and my cousin, my other cousin, and we get in this argument with these like older guys at the hotel. They've been drinking and they're arguing with 10, 12-year-olds, which is absolutely wild. But I have this like real redneck cousin named Patrick. He actually has a last name, but he goes by his middle and first name, Patrick. But he's just redneck as they come. I see him on Facebook and he's like posting pictures of like where you get good deals on like Busch Light beer. Anyway, these guys are yelling at us. These older guys, probably in their 20s, are like yelling at us, and we're arguing back because we're dumb kids. And my cousin Patrick's probably about 20 feet behind us in the woods, and he's just like, "Hey, you assholes!" And he would look at him, and Patrick fucking throws a snake at the older guys. Hits this guy right in the face with a snake.
Oh God.
And it's just like that's the countryside that I have. I haven't seen him in years, but he calls up my dad kind of like casually, asks him how his long's coming along. I have no. But that type of stuff you don't see in NYC. In NYC, you guys get panhandlers over there?
Oh yeah.
It's Detroit, right?
Yeah, it's Detroit. Yeah, we get them.
I'm talking about Orange County. You ever had them coming to your school?
No.
You haven't had them coming to your school?
No.
We have our schools right. It's like the thing about my school, it gets so much foot traffic. It's got the big windows. The street is on perfect for the amount of foot traffic. We get cops coming in, just like coming to check it out. Next thing you know, we're training with these cops constantly. But we had this homeless guy come in, and he just proclaims like, "Yo, I'm not leaving until someone gives me $1." But we're all in gi pants. We don't have any pockets. Like I think there's one mom who's just terrified by this guy. Is the only person in the room who has any pockets. So my coach is looking at him. He's like, he looks at him. He's like, "Where do you think I'm keeping this $1 at?" He says, "What?" He's like, "I got no pockets. You want to search my ass for $1?"
Oh God, dude.
And we're kind of like in this situation where now there's There's about 5 guys on the team standing at the edge of the mat, like, yo, we about to like beat the crap out of this guy over $1. None of us have it.
$1.
We can't get him to
Right.
leave unless one of us have $1. But yeah, that was probably like the worst. Things like that.
Yeah, we haven't had any issues like that, luckily, at our school.
What part of Detroit is your school at?
So we run 2 schools. I got one school in Ferndale.
Like you and someone else, or just you?
Yeah, me and someone else. And I have another spot I teach at out in Garden City.
I kind of know it. I've not been to Detroit, but I have like a general idea of the area from friends who've been over there.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask this. How did you and the other guy are the owners?
Yep.
How did y'all meet and sort of decide like y'all trust each other enough to run 2 jiu-jitsu schools and start a company and business like that? Because that's something I find fascinating. My 2 coaches are like best friends.
Yeah. So the guy I run one school with, his name is Brian. We trained at H2O together for the past 6 years. He's been there for 7 or 8, and I've been there for 6. So he's like my brother. And we had to close our school down earlier this year. So we ended up partnering with another guy at his school. He taught like kickboxing and other stuff, and we just kind of partnered with him to teach jiu-jitsu at that location. So we're like a school within another school. And then the one that I met in Garden City, one of our striking instructors, he partnered up with a good friend of his, and he opened up this place, almost like kind of like a UFC training center. They got kickboxing, MMA, grappling, and stuff like that. And they needed a jiu-jitsu coach, so I, started teaching over there.
So, like, you're married?
Yes.
You're married. That's like your best man, or that happened after?
After.
All right. But that's kind of like how you would look at it.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I mean, maybe you picked your brother. That's fair.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of always thought about that because it's like, that's a lot of trust, man. You see all the crazy stuff that happens in jiu-jitsu with schools, coaches, and stuff like that. That's a lot of
business
trust,
in general,
honest and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome, though, man.
Yeah, it's not a lot of people. Yeah, it's not a lot of people I would trust to do something like that with, and he's probably one of the only few. So we've been at this place for a couple months now, and everything has been running smoothly. So I'm excited. I'm happy about it.
It's something I think I consider doing later down the line. But being deaf, I kind of would need another like guy that's a little bit more hands-on coaching like that. I mean, I have some guys in mind I would do with. But yeah, I don't think I'd be able to do kids classes deaf.
That'd be tough.
I mean, it's mostly a non-issue. I have coaches. The coaches sort of like motion like this would be ankle lock from the sidelines when I'm competing. So that becomes easy. There's only one dude I've had an issue with because he gets like scared and just like panic taps, but he starts like screaming and just like wah, wah, wah. And he's just screaming. And all I've got is side control. I like side control or scarf hold position, and he's just like, ah! And my coach is just like, Dan, are you torturing these guys with wrist locks? It's a specific guy. It's just wild. Like he goes like that. Other than that, everyone's got a wrong name. And it's become a joke to where like someone named Steve I thought was Kevin, and now everyone in the class calls him Kevin.
Wow. But that was gonna be my next question. Like, you know, if you competed, oh shit.
We get like new guys have no clue that I'm deaf. During warm-ups, they'll be having an entire conversation, but I'm not looking at them directly and I have no idea they're talking to me. So they'll be like talking to me like having this full conversation, and I'm ignoring them. And they start getting like offended and bothered that like I'm blatantly ignoring him until someone comes over like, yo, you know he's deaf, right? But that's about the extent of it. I think there's worse issues. I mean, you had like not worse issues in that way, but you had disabled kids.
No.
We had some deaf kids. I had like a strange amount of other deaf teammates, like 6. We had a guy who had CP. So he didn't really have much use of his leg, of his one leg and posture. He couldn't like exactly, I guess, flow roll and keep the movement going in certain positions and stuff like that. He asked me about it, and I'm like, yo, work with what you got.
Mm-hmm.
So I taught him wrist locks. And just the way his leg was, it created such like a sambo sort of like posture and side control, and he was just like right down like that. He became deadly, just wrist locking the crap out of everyone. And because he had these stiff legs, like you couldn't get out of either. And he's like, he thanked me. He thought it was awesome. I'm like, work with what you got. Like,
work with what you got, right?
You see these one hand and like no leg competitors. Some of them are killing it. Like,
yeah, I had a guy on the show a couple weeks ago. He's a high level competitor and he's missing a foot.
That's an advantage.
Right. No heel hooks, right?
It's one less foot you have to worry about in positions.
Right.
One thing that did kind of like worry me a little bit. I got talking to this guy's girlfriend. Not like that. I mean, like online. I knew him pretty well, and whatever, like a conversation started happening. But he's paralyzed from the waist down. And he's saying what really kind of scares him is his like legs can easily be broken in class, and they likely are. And he doesn't feel it or notice it or anything else like that. He could have like 3-4 broken legs, and he's worried that could cause some like type of issue he doesn't know about.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, all right, he's still just taking part of class. What's the matter? No one's intentionally like just snapping his legs and like heel hooks and ankle locks. That would be messed up.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
You have any questions, bud?
Yeah. So going back to, you were saying earlier about, your instructor gives you hand signs to kind of look out for when you're training. So how has that helped you, or how has that been like training and competing being deaf?
It's nothing, man. I don't think I've experienced but one person who ever verbal tapped, and it was the guy we were talking about. I almost got in a fight one time because I didn't mention to the ref that I was deaf. But usually if I mention it to the ref, they tap me at the end instead of just like whatever the hand gesture is like that. But I subbed the guy after the bell. Like we're talking 15 seconds after the bell. He kind of like the bell went off and he just stopped defending or anything else like that. I didn't notice it, and I armbarred him, and we got into an altercation that way.
Oh wow!
When I noticed what happened, like we were all cool about it after that. Apologize to you like that. That's the one time I had it. The one other issue, and this is really weird situation. It's like grappling issues. You guys have grappling issues over there? The grappling industries had an OSO event for a short time. I think they only did 3 events. One of them was in NY. It was no limit sub only. Brutal because I had a 45-minute match that day. 2 other guys went for 2.5 hours. Brutal. But anyway, I have a match with this guy. He's night and day better than me. This is that blue belt. Dude's got a step on me, and he gets the best of me for about 12, 14 minutes straight. Like, I don't think anyone watching is, like, looking at this guy like, yeah, he is really good, and he's better than me. But he takes my back, and I notice he crossed his ankles in the back day. So I crossed my leg over his and folded it. Yeah, most pain I've ever experienced in my life. I won't do it ever again. I think my coach called me at white belt, and I was like, yeah, not do that ever again. I fold my legs over him, and he starts screaming in my ear, but I don't hear it. And he keeps going for the choke. He's not tapping. He's just like trying to fight through the pain to keep going for the choke. It's really a bad scene to just watch because I'm breaking this guy's ankle, popping this guy's ankle right in front of everyone, and he's refusing to tap. He's still going for the choke and just screaming his lungs out. The ref finally stops it because this guy really wasn't like ready to forfeit both of his ankles to keep going for a choke that wasn't there. The ref stopped it. I'm a bit confused because I didn't tap. He didn't tap. Ref called the match over ref's decision or whatever like that. I won it. I mean, it was kind of a weird feeling because the guy beat the crap out of me. But the funny part, though, about it, I mean, in that situation, he had it coming himself.
Mm-hmm.
He did that to himself, so I don't feel bad. It's uncomfortable hurting anyone in jiu-jitsu, so there is that. But the funny part of the situation is I see my girlfriend in the stand. She doesn't know what happened. My teammate Ryan, and he's cringing. He can't even look. And my former teammate Jason, who's just looking at me like, yeah. And it was just like an entire spectrum of emotions, from confusion to uncomfortable to like kind of like weirdly comfortable. But yeah, like that. I saw bump dudes in class. I'm talking about talk on trash water. I won't even hear it. We had a Colombian guy told me he doesn't speak very good English, and I was like, I mean, I can't hear English for Colombian. He showed me. He's a great guy. He actually picked up English more and took classes, but he was just like, he comes to me one day because we became friendly. He's like, hey, do you want to see the most painful submission I know? I mean, if you're going to show me it on someone else, absolutely. But I don't want you to show me it on you. So he shows me it on someone else, and he just puts his wrist right on the bridge of their nose and then does a face crank right on their nose. And he said something stupid like, like everything below the nose is neck. He said everything below the hairline is neck.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, as far as disabilities go, I don't think mine is actually such an inconvenience, but when you first have it.
Mm-hmm.
I got in some trouble because I actually lost my sense of smell also. In a coma, you gain your sense of smell back slowly after. So I was in a
Okay.
coma 12 days. It's actually kind of fun. Like you smell new things again for the second time.
Mm-hmm.
Things that are nice, like melted cheese. You're at McDonald's and you smell the fries cooking. You're like, wow, it's a trip. Like you're experiencing these things again. Asphalt, stuff like that. You're experiencing these again. Well, I was at a gas station smelling gas again for the second time. And now I have the nozzle up to my nose. And the guy's like, he's like, you need to leave right now. And then you look at him like you're dead staring. I'm just like, I can smell again. He said, you need to leave right now. I'm calling the cops. Later date, my ex-girlfriend shopping in Kate Spade for purses for a friend or whatever like that. And I'm like, holy shit, I can smell leather again. And I'm running around the store picking up purses. I can smell it. I can smell it. I can smell it. And like next thing I know, there's 3 security guards standing around me like, need to stop like messing around with stuff. And like none of it's intentional. It's like you can smell again. Like, all right, you have glasses. Like, are you near? I'm assuming you're nearsighted.
Farsighted.
Yeah, I'm nearsighted too. I wear contacts. But like, imagine one day you didn't have to like wear glasses and you just saw perfectly with the glasses. Like, what's the first thing you're gonna do?
You're gonna look at everything.
Like, look at everything in your house, but then like what? Like, do some sightseeing. Like, look at the tall buildings, stuff like that. That's kind of like what it's like.
Yeah.
Go to the
Yeah, I
strip
get it.
club.
I
Look
get
at
it.
this. I've never seen this before.
It's so clear. It's like 4K.
I like these. I wonder if they'll let me touch them.
Oh man. Okay, Danny. So
All right.
we got a thing on Talk Your Jits podcast. We like to ask everybody your top 3 people you would love to get a chance to roll with, past or present.
My number 1. His name's Warren Doc. Purple belt when I was there. Older guy. I feel like I learned so much from this guy. We ran an open mat on Sundays, just getting wipeouts to win competitions. And I think our wipeouts went 12 out of 14 were golds. 2 of them had each other, which canceled one out. And one had this absolute like Regan Penn feed up type. But Warren Doc has some back issues. He stopped coming to class. That would be my number 1. He is my all-time favorite grappler. Number 2. I'm a big Builder Grill fan. Builder Grill Cooper. That's who I kind of like watched the most. Him and Jeff Glover at Purple Belt. I watched them when I first got into jiu-jitsu. Those 2. So Builder Grill. And last one, Jason Chambers is a pussy. I called out Jason Chambers on Instagram and I told him I put up 10K. I win. Your 10K goes to the Deaf Society. You win. My 10K go whatever charity you want. But I saw him like he went to Hollywood, stopped doing jiu-jitsu, came back to jiu-jitsu, and was showing some really iffy techniques. Like borderline McDojo type of stuff.
Oh,
Not
no.
exactly full McDojo. I told him, yo, I could take you. I could take him. And he blocked me and then had 3 other pages that were like, worked for him. Contact me and accuse me of being a robot. So Jason Chambers, number 3. I will kick his ass. Warren Doc, number 1. Bill Cooper.
Nice.
What are yours?
My top 3 is Mikey Musumeci, Brandon Ortega, and Damian Maya is usually my top 3 go-to. I would love to get a chance to roll with.
You think you can take Ortega?
No.
I mean, his coach is Renner Gracie.
I know, right? I just want it for the experience. I know he'll probably smoke me, but I will do it for the experience.
I don't know. I would actually put money on you beating him. But he just used that like length really well.
Yeah.
Maya. I love that Maya's just so fundamental. Like I feel like he doesn't know what an omoplata is. And I kind of love that because he will take your back and just keep it really basic, hold thigh control. Like, what's an omoplata or heel hook? I've heard of these things before.
Sounds familiar.
I would love to be coached by like spend a month like training at David Maya school.
Yeah, definitely. That would be fun. That would definitely be fun. All right, Danny, man, unless you got any other questions for me, would love to, if you want to let the people know what you got going on, what's coming up, the floor is all yours.
Nothing else, man. I mean, the time of year, there's not really much you could do except celebrate the holiday. Which is like 1 or 2 days away. So that's kind of where my focus is right now. Other than that, I need to get back to training. I've been running around with everything else, kind of keeping me from training as consistently. I think my like future plans as of like immediate is go see Danny DeVito on Broadway. I want to go see Iron Claw.
Nice.
Iron Claw, Danny DeVito on Broadway, Christmas, and get back to training. Work's dead, man. There's no disasters going on, so it's like the guy just like hang out at home.
That's a good thing. That is a good thing. That's been happening right now.
Or anything, tree falls. It's not even cold out up here, so people aren't even burning themselves up with space heaters. Like I'm being dead honest. All right, I appreciate you having me on. Great talking to you, everything else like that. Let me know when you drop it. Everything else like that. I'll blast it on my page and shit like that.
Definitely, man. I greatly appreciate you, man. I greatly appreciate you. That's the end of today's episode. I would like to thank Danny one more time for coming on the show and bless us with his jiu-jitsu knowledge. Please go and follow our Facebook, Instagram, and Facebook page to stay up to date on all future episodes. This has been Talk Your Jits podcast. Keep rolling, keep grinding, and remember, long live jiu-jitsu. Have a good day. And Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you too.